Hey everyone, welcome to Jay Walking Tours. I'm Jay, I'm going to go on a walking tour. Today, we're going to cover Battery Park. Here are some fun facts about the New York City subway system. New York has the most bacteria-filled subway system in the country. One study explained that holding a handrail is equivalent to shaking hands with 10,000 people. So try not to hold on to the rail unless you have to. See that lady in front of us? She's too busy playing Candy Crush on her phone. She didn't even realize I was right behind her. I had to plow my way through. We just got off the R train, but you can also catch the W and the 1 train here. You see that? Escalator etiquette. If you're gonna walk, keep left. If you're gonna stand, keep right. Don't be one of those people who stands and keeps left, because you're just gonna get pushed in a bunch of dirty looks.
Purchase the one. What's the one on the left?
I was just saying,
$9? $10?
There are also some subway rules that you should probably be aware of. It's against the law to take up more than one subway seat, or even putting up your dirty, smelly shoes on a seat. People can't even get arrested for asking someone else to swipe them into the subway. So no begging, just pay for the ride. Monthly parking in New York City can cost as much as $1,200. That's a mortgage. If you're in the city for a day or two, daily rates can average about $45 to $50, but it can also be as low as $20 and as high as $125. I usually do the early bird special. I get in before 9 a.m. and I leave 12 hours later, say 9 p.m., and I pay about $20. That's the Staten Island Ferry. It's a free ride from Manhattan to Staten Island and Staten Island and back. Each ride is about 25 minutes. There are a lot of hustlers here, so be careful. I'm not sure if these guys in red are actually legitimate or not. I think they work for a private tour company where they sell overpriced Statue of Liberty tickets. You could talk to them, but I wouldn't do any business with them. Just buy your Statue of Liberty tickets at the main booth, which is at Castle Clinton. Back in 2015, the New York Post, which is a local newspaper, reviewed how an army of crooked ticket agents was peddling overpriced pass boat tickets to Liberty and Ellis Island, and falsely claiming that they could let holders skip the lengthy security line. One ticket seller even convinced a pair of tourists to shell out $400 for a pair of round-trip tickets to ride the ferry. If you're taking the R or W train, the station is called Whitehall Street. If you're taking the 1 train, the stop is called South Ferry Station. I lived in New York City my whole life, and I only been to the Statue of Liberty once. Next time I go, I think I'm gonna get Crown tickets. There's another guy in red trying to sell you ferry tickets. Just say no thank you and keep walking. If they persist, just say no thank you and keep walking. Trust me, you're not going to hurt their feelings. Shoot, I think I just walked across a don't walk sign. Try not to do it. 1, you can get a ticket, and 2, it's dangerous. Don't do it. Also, try not to text and walk while crossing the street. I think at the beginning of this year, a bill was sponsored by Democrats who controlled the New York State legislature would allow police to issue a ticket between $25 and $50 for the first offense of getting caught while texting and walking, unless you can prove it was an emergency. But in either case, don't do it. It's dangerous. So who really discovered New York? Although Henry Hudson is commonly known as the man who discovered New York, the truth is, an Italian guy did, Giovanni di Verrazzano. Verrazzano beat Henry Hudson to the punch. You see, the Italian guy brokered a deal with the French to find new routes to Asia and the Pacific Ocean. So in January of 1524, Verrazzano sailed west. In April of that year, he landed on New York Bay. He then sailed east to Massachusetts Martha's Vineyard and made a final stop in Rhode Island before heading home. About 85 years later, in 1609, an Englishman named Henry Hudson made a deal with the Dutch to do the same thing, to find new routes to Asia and the Pacific Ocean. Henry Hudson made it as far north as Albany, and they named the river after him, the Hudson River. As for Verrazzano, well, he did return to the New World, twice. However, in the third time, he was eaten by cannibals. So in remembrance, they named the bridge after him, the Verrazzano Bridge. So next time you cross that bridge, remember that one man was eaten alive so that you can cross from Staten Island to Brooklyn. But all jokes aside, we all know who really discovered New York. The cannibals. Duh. That's a free restroom. And now we're entering Battery Park. It's located in the southern tip of Manhattan, with ready access to the harbor and of the Hudson River. Battery Park is where the history of New York City began. The area's strategic location was recognized by Native Americans and Dutch settlers, who called it Capsea, an Indian term for rocky ledge. Ah, there she is, Lady Liberty. You know, from this distance, you probably can't tell, but she's actually 305 feet tall from foundation to torch. That's the size of a 20-story building. Make sure you have comfortable shoes if you decide to climb that tall glass of water. Remember how I said Henry Hudson was sponsored by the Dutch West India Company, to find new routes to Asia and the Pacific Ocean? Well, the Dutch sponsored this voyage because they needed new routes for their spice trading business. So if an Englishman named Henry Hudson discovered New York for the Dutch, why is it called New York? And didn't the English own New York? Well, that's because New York was originally called New Amsterdam. It was called New Amsterdam because the Dutch are from the Netherlands, and their capital is called Amsterdam. You know, the city of all the dikes? And so they named the land that Henry Hudson found New Amsterdam. In 1664, the Duke of York, who was from England, attacked New Amsterdam, and the Dutch gave up without a fight. Since the Dutch West India Company didn't send any support to their New World colony, so to honor the Duke of York, they named their new city New York. After business hours, around 6 p.m., you can find a lot of joggers here. But once sun sets, it can get pretty quiet here, and a little dark, so try not to walk alone here at night. East Coast Memorial. This memorial honors the 4,601 missing American servicemen who lost their lives in the Atlantic Ocean while engaging in combat during World War II. It can get pretty hot and sunny here during the summer, so make sure to bring sunscreen, a hat, and maybe an umbrella like that person to the left. Although the ferry ride from Battery Park is only 15 minutes to both Liberty Island and Ellis Island, the entire trip will actually take up your whole day. If you leave at 2 p.m., you can only visit one of the two sites. Security screening at the ferry terminals can take up to an hour. So regardless of which tickets you are buying, Crown Access, Pedestal, or Grounds Only, reserve your tickets in advance. That way, you don't have to wait on the long lines and you won't get cheated by those selling fake tickets on the grounds of Battery Park. And this is where you exit after your ferry ride from the Statue of Liberty. Here you see a lot of vendors drawing caricatures of tourists. They sometimes charge $10 for 10 minutes, and sometimes it could take them an hour to finish their caricature. So don't get hustled. Figure out how long it'll take and then agree to a price before paying. You hear that sound? That's Amazing Grace being played by that Asian guy with the Chinese violin, also known as a erhu. Amazing Grace was written by a former slave trader, John Newton. Once sailing a ship full of slaves from Africa, his ship was hit by a fierce storm. Newton feared for his life and got down on his knees and begged the good Lord to spare his life. He promised the good Lord that if he would only spare his life, he would change his ways and stop trading slaves. The storm calmed down, and Newton wrote the song Amazing Grace, full of sorrow and love and hope that he would be forgiven for his sins. Newton continued the slave trade. He continued to sell his fellow human beings, making 3 voyages as captain of 2 different slave ships. He suffered a stroke in 1754 and retired, but continued to invest in his slave trade business. Castle Clinton. It was built in 1808 due to the increasing tension with the British. American harbor cities began to build forts for protection. New York City was no exception. 4 forts were built, one on Governor's Island, one on Liberty Island, one on Ellis Island, and one here on Battery Park. The fort on Battery Park, also known as Castle Clinton, was fully armed with 28 cannons. Each cannon could shoot a 32-pound cannonball a distance of 1.5 miles.
I'm looking for a ticket for the Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
So, like, what do you have?
So these tickets take you onto the island of the Statue of Liberty, and on Ellis Island, you can go in both museums and you get audio tour guide. The only thing you cannot do right now is go up the statue because you need a reservation.
Statue, what do you mean? Like, into the crown?
Go up to the statue, you need a reservation.
Like the crown, right?
You go inside.
If you want to climb the steps to Lady Liberty's crown, you better reserve those tickets in advance. 6 months in advance. Access to the crown is extremely limited. Each customer is only allowed to reserve 4 crown tickets, and children must be at least 4 feet tall to access the crown. If you can't get crown tickets, then get pedestal tickets. But those are limited too. If you can't get pedestal tickets, then you're left with the ferry tickets to Liberty Island only. Remember to book in advance, and good luck. Here's a fun fact. The Statue of Liberty incorporates elements of two of the seven world wonders of the ancient world, the Colossus of Rhodes and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. But to the surprise of many, the Statue of Liberty was not actually intended for the Americans. It was actually for the Egyptians. You see, the French sculptor that actually designed the Statue of Liberty was intended to guard the entrance of the Suez Canal in Egypt. However, due to the inability to get funding from France and Egypt, they scrapped the whole project. At the end, they decided to give the statue to the Americans as a gift to celebrate their newfound independence. Hand-me-downs? Sure, why not? Thanks, France. See that poster to the left? And the three ladies sitting on the bench on the right? They're Jehovah's Witness preachers. Jehovah's Witness. It's a branch of Christianity. It's easy to accidentally misspeak about them because they avoid nearly all terminology common in mainstream Protestantism, like church, hymn, or cross. They reject the Trinity doctrine and hellfire. They don't celebrate Christmas, Halloween, or Easter, citing pagan origins. Same goes for birthday celebrations, partly because of the origin of the candles and wishes, but also because they see birthdays as evoked in a negative light in the Bible. They limit their contact with non-believers. It's rare for someone unrelated to a member to be invited over for dinner. All of this is in an effort to keep their spiritual health unstained and their standing with God intact. Worship takes place in functioning buildings called kingdom halls, which can be found in nearly every country in the world. Well, that's the end of the tour. If you liked what you saw, like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment of what you'd like to see in the future. Thanks everyone.